Councilmember Cosarelli?
Here.
Kennedy?
Present.
Longo?
Here.
Nattari?
Here.
Robel?
Here.
Hickenlooper? Present. Mayor Kimball?
We have to pledge allegiance, but we remain standing for one of the silence for our former court clerk, Cheryl Chippinetti, and also the officers that lost their lives in Dallas.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Sunshine notice.
Notice of this meeting has been given to the press and published in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law.
Over minutes.
Not at this time, Mayor.
Before I turn this over to the manager, I would like to make a brief statement. As all of you know, many cities have experienced difficult times between their police departments and members of their community. On behalf of the entire town council, I'm proud to say that this does not appear to be the case in Belleville. Through my own experience and observation, as well as through conversations with our officers and citizens, I know there is a mutual admiration between members of our department and the community. Our office should be acknowledged for treating all of our citizens with respect and dignity. At the same time, our community must also be recognized for the support it shows to our officers. My hope is that the positive relationship will continue and not be influenced by events which happened outside of the township and which are outside of our control. Thank you. Report to the manager.
Yes, Mayor. First I would like to report on is the Silver Lake Firehouse. We're just waiting for contracts to be returned, signed contracts, that is, from the contractor. Mr. Hertz will be holding a pre-construction conference, and as soon as that's done, we will begin construction. Mr. Hertz is also in conversation with the architect to review the interior renovations so that he can draw up the specifications and we can go out to bid within the next meeting or so. We've also been advised that York is cleaning and relining water mains in the Silver Lake section of town, which is a positive. Concerning Heckle Street, Mr. Hertz and I contacted Public Service and they sent out their evaluation team, and they'll be changing the existing bulbs on Heckle from the light rail to Hana Street. I believe they're 100 to 125 watt bulbs to 250 watt high pressure sodium. All right, so it's going to light that up. And also from Hana Street to the Bloomfield line, they'll be upgrading from 100 watt bulbs to 125 watt bulbs. And then in addition to that, they're also going to be upgrading the lighting at our senior citizen center in the parking lot. So that's three positives there. I also received an email from Mr. Magley concerning some sunken and collapsed storm drains on Cortlandt Street between Bella Vista and Graylock. And depending on how much money we have left in the 2015 road program, we can do it out of that bond. If not, we're introducing two bonds tonight. We will do it out of the 2016 road program, and we're just waiting for our truck to come back so we can blow out the lines and alleviate some of those problems. Some of you also may have heard about the frozen funds from the Transportation Trust Fund. The governor sequestered $100 million, and some of those do in fact affect us. One old project that was approved was Wallace and Carpenter Street. It was a 2014 project in the amount of $251,540, and a 2015 project, Clinton and Tapan, in the amount of $246,885. Today, Councilman Cosarelli and myself met with Ed Farmer and Sue Scavone. There are grant writers from Millennium Strategies to discuss different needs that we have in town: infrastructure improvements, sewer line upgrades, water and sewer improvements, recreational facilities, fire apparatus and equipment, police apparatus and equipment, training, the possibility of a marketing program to actually market Belleville in light of the development that we're expecting to go on here, recreational program fundings, and also funding for the DPW and the health department. On Wednesday, the 20th, we're setting up meetings from 9:30 to 12:30 with fire, police, rec, health, and DPW, so they can sit down and discuss with our grant writers exactly what their needs are so we can give them some direction. We also spoke to them about the possibility of siting a transit village somewhere here in Belleville. So they're going to look into that and send us information on that. And as well as, I believe it was the last meeting, someone mentioned converting the old pistol range, the park, all right, into a handicap park. So what we discussed today was whether or not there's funding available for that and how we can go about doing that. But not only just having a handicap park, because right now there's a little playground area, and then there's the field area that's kind of all grassed in now. There's no infield left. But see how we can develop that into something nice for our residents. And then last but not least, there was also a gentleman here with two young ladies, I believe sitting in the back. Oh, here's our board member Slamparello, concerning the bike racks. I've spoken with Mr. Egan. The board's going to start a pilot program, according to him, and install a couple of bike racks by some schools to see how that works out. And then he said he will contact us in the event that we both decide we want to move forward with that program. And that's all I have.
No?
Last week, I went to the Franklin Street Mall to return something. And fortunately, my phone rang as I was getting out of my car, exiting my car. And when I did, I saw a slew of police officers from Bloomfield, Belleville, the whole bit. There was a holdup. I was 10 feet away. It's a good thing I answered my phone. I answered all my calls. I would have been in the midst in that building. They had a gun, and it was a terrible thing. So what I'm proposing to do is see how we can go to all these stores, Mr. Tucci. I found out they had no cameras, they had no security, they had nothing. So we need to do something right away. So I'd like to do an ordinance or something that we can, have a meeting and see how we can do this. I hope I win with that. Okay, that's about, oh, and I know we've been having problems on Watchung and Cross Street with Mr. Billy over there. He is going to help us. It's really a terrible situation there. When it rains, it's disgusting. And even the one on Heckle and Geraldo. So whatever you can do would be appreciated. That's it.
Mauro, I guess you would call it a back road. It's behind the homes on New Street, and the cars can't go down there. It's between Division and Geraldo. And I received several calls that there's a lot of vegetation behind there and mosquitoes, and it's just wild. Who's responsible? Is that our property? Who's responsible for that?
I'm not sure whose property it is, but it is ours. As Billy's saying, it's
Well,
ours.
it's donated to us by charity. Fine, but, you tell me, everybody has the driveway and the garages along that road. They can't cut the grass. I mean, they have all their driveways and stuff that they're not being taxed on. They can't get out there with a lawnmower?
Maybe we'll have a conversation with them. I'll call them all in and see what we can do. But in the meantime, with our forces, we'll get that right.
If we can address that.
Sure.
Thanks. Also, I'm glad to see that we put up the four-way stop on Terry and Cortland, but if we can look into Tyona and Adelaide, they're requesting a four-way stop. There's been apparently several accidents there and speeding, etc. So if we can look into
I gave him that one at the same time. I gave him the other, so I'm sure Tommy's working on it.
Thanks. And I know we've talked about the garage sale for September 24th. Where are we at that point?
I'm getting all the information from the other town that does it, and we're gonna bring it in. We're gonna sit down with them and get all the logistics and all the fine details about how they do it. Then we're just gonna plan it and start publicizing it.
Terrific. And just out of curiosity, on 4th of July, it was raining. Some people didn't know if we were going to have fireworks or whatever. Did a lot of people visit the website to see if you were on or off? I don't even know.
I believe I read that we had the most hits on the website, 4,500, was it, Michael?
4,500 visits
Right.
on
On 4th of
Yes,
July.
on 4th of July.
That's it, thank you.
Chilton.
Two quick things, Mauro. First thing is, at the edge of Bernice, right where it goes into Nutley, there's a couple of potholes. If we can take a look and see how difficult it would be to fill them in. The other thing is that, they just finished paving Hoover, and they haven't really lined it yet. And I'm just trying to figure out, I don't think that's is it Nutley doing that? Is it Bloomfield doing that? Who's paving?
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Is it,
Bloomfield. Can we coordinate with them, because I know that we were talking about having some sort of ghost lines there to direct traffic so we can make it a little safer, you know, coming off Geralman onto Hoover, coming off Hoover onto,
yeah, I'll find out exactly whose jurisdiction that's under, and we'll see if it's allowed.
thank you.
I checked with Trevor, but that's all intersection,
Yeah, but I think it's a county.
but maybe, huh?
I think it's a county,
The county?
counties.
Because I know we get any accidents out there.
It's probably a county line.
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome.
Special action?
Mary, this is the time fixed for the public hearing on the 2016 municipal budget. The budget was approved by the mayor and council on June 14, 2016, was advertised in full as required by law on June 30, 2016, together with notice of hearing for this time. Mayor, I have a resolution regarding the reading of the budget by title.
I offer the foregoing resolution and move its adoption.
Second?
I'm going to read the resolution, okay? Whereas NJSA 48-4-8 as amended provides that the budget as advertised shall be read in full at the public hearing, or that it may be read by its title only if, 1, at least 1 week prior to the date of the hearing, a complete copy of the approved budget, A, shall be made available for public inspection in the free public library, if any, of the municipality, and in the free county libraries or regional libraries located in the municipality, or if no county libraries or regional libraries are located in the municipality, the county or regional library of the county in which the municipality is located. And the public officer delegated responsibility for delivering copies of the approved budget to such library shall forward to the governing body attestation that such delivery was made. And the copies are made available to each person requesting the same during said meeting and during the public hearing. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and council of the township of Belleville that it is hereby declared that the conditions of NJSA 48:4-8 as amended set forth in subsections 1A and 1B have been met, and therefore the budget for 2016 shall be read by title only.
Resolution is adopted, or not?
No, it's called up.
Huh?
Called up.
Clerk.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes,
Longo?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Kimball?
Yes. The resolution is adopted. Before opening this hearing, I wish to outline the procedure. Each person desiring to be heard will rise and give his or her name as before addressing, before speaking. I will recognize one speaker at a time in order of rising, as legally as I can determine. Address all questions to the chair where necessary. They will be referred to individuals of the township council or municipal officials. Questions must be confined solely to the municipal budget before us. School or county matters are not proper subject of this hearing and cannot be discussed, answered here tonight. I now declare open the public hearing of the 2016 municipal budget.
Mr. Franklin, County 129, Mount Prosecutor. Mr. Mayor and Council, I obtained a copy of the budget from the clerk's office. I assume that I'll ask if each of you council members have the same copy.
I believe so.
Did all 7 of you go through it line by line and study it?
Maybe not as well as you, but we tried.
Well, hopefully you have some answers for us tonight. And I also want to tell you that I believe the town manager, Mr. Tucci, and Mr. Falcone, the auditor, are not going to vote on this budget on the agenda 8B. So I hope the questions will be answered by you 7 council people who are supposed to know the answers and are supposed to know what's contained in this budget that you're spending the $60-some-odd million. So I hope we get the answers from you.
Mr. President,
The first-
if you listen to my statement, that we referred by me to members that I think could answer it, whether it's Mr. Falcone or Mr. Tucci.
I heard it,
okay?
and I hear it
And that's the
every
way
year,
we're running it.
and I know the process. The problem I
And
have
that's the way we're
with
running it.
it, yeah, right, the problem I
I
have
mean, you're
with
not
it.
gonna tell us who's gonna answer it, we're gonna answer it to the best of our ability.
Good, thank you. The first thing I want to address before I go page by page of the budget, what's missing in this budget is a page called the analysis of compensated absence liability. That is what the taxpayers owe for people retiring for unused sick time or vacation time at all. Why is that missing from the budget?
It's no longer required because it's now part of what they call the user-friendly version. So you can obtain a copy of the user-friendly version from the clerk's office, and that's scheduled in that particular budget.
Okay. Last year, the taxpayers had a liability of $1.7 million, and there was only $113,000 in the fund. What is our liability this year?
I don't have that number available now. So that's what you do.
So, Mr. Mayor, the auditor, we're paying over $100,000. He comes to a budget hearing and doesn't have answers. This goes on every year. Every year this goes on. So what are we paying him over $100,000?
I answers for you every year, but you don't really listen to the answers either.
Well, I just asked you one question, you didn't have no
Well, I
answer.
just told you it's part of the user-friendly budget. And why don't you get a copy of the user-friendly budget when you're in the clerk's office?
Because you just told us it was changed.
I didn't say it was changed, I said it was no longer part of the trends budget. It's part of the user-friendly budget. So
Well, it was required, so why don't you have that answer for us tonight?
go ahead, Mr. Conklin, then it's all good with that answer.
While he's looking for that answer, on sheet 3B, under the cap, I oppose it every year. You folks vote for special ordinance to increase the municipal cap on spending by 3.5%. This year, inflation is relatively low and all. The state cap for this year, as stated in your budget, is 0.0. But you people vote every year to increase it to that 3.5%. That 3.5% is costing the taxpayers $1,787,000. I ask you every year, spend within our means. If the state says, it says right here on page 3B of the budget, the limit for 2016 is 0.0%. Now, if the taxpayers have to live on a tight budget in their household, I ask you every year, why aren't you living on a tight budget?
Because I believe the appropriations and with the health benefits and the pensions going up every year, that causes an increase in our
Would
budget.
you like me to give an overview, Mayor?
Go ahead.
Might clarify some things.
If I can interrupt you for 1 minute?
Sure.
The answer to your question is $1,760,541.
1,760, what's the rest?
541.10. We have 113,277.33 set aside, and we're appropriating $33,250 in this year's budget.
$33,000,
$250 in this year's budget.
and what's in reserve?
$113,277.33.
That was the same as last year. Have we paid anything out of that fund?
We paid probably something out of the trust fund.
Thank you.
Let me give that overview, Mayor.
Excuse me? Go ahead.
Let me go brief up my answer some folks' questions for those who weren't here when we introduced on the 14th. Total general appropriations, for those of you who haven't read the budget, for 2016 are $62,285,776.55. In 2015, total general appropriations were $60,743,560.31. We're looking at a 2.5% increase, or $1,542,216.24. Now, what are the elements that went into that increase? Number one, we had over expenditures from prior years that we cleaned up in 2016. We had 2015 and 2016 contractual increases and steps, all right, that were paid out of this year's budget. We had pension increases, we had health benefit increases, We had garbage and recycling increases both in collection and tipping, because if some of you are following the markets, all right, instead of it being a push or no charge for us on recycling, we are now paying $7,000 a month. We're out to bid, we're receiving our new garbage contract on, I believe it's August 8th or 9th, so we'll see where we are there, so we had to anticipate that. Sewage disposal costs went up, and we also put some money aside for the reserve for uncollected taxes. Our appropriations are in fact down almost $72,000 from 2015, all right, and we cut over $2.5 million on what was requested from our department heads. We also have a capital program of $4,609,000 and a capital program for the water utility we're starting this year of $200,000. That's it.
Well, again, some of these explanations, the majority of these explanations are employees' salaries, the increases you voted for, their benefits, their health insurance, which the average homeowner can't afford. And we asked you, I mean, here's the Star Ledger, just last week, Belleville Fire Chief, $191,693. He's got a big department of 67 men. The North Fire Chief, only $1,000 more, $193,000, and he's got a department of 572 men. So there's no comparison. Our salaries are so out of whack with the general public and other towns. How do you equate that? The guy in North, almost the same salary with 572 men, and we're giving the same salary for 67-man department. Is that logical?
That's how it is all over the state, Vin.
What?
That's how it is all over the state. Didn't you read the Star Ledger? There's one town across the river, he has what, 24 men, and he's getting almost
Here's the
200,000?
Star Ledger. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, North,
Right,
567.
so, but how about the other
Making
towns?
about the same thing.
What about the other towns that have less firemen?
It's out of control.
Okay.
That's why New Jersey's in the state it's in.
Okay, go
And
ahead, Vin.
these costs are voted on by you
Okay,
and your
Vin.
6 friends up
Okay,
there.
Vin,
That's
I
got to
know
be
you got a
reined
long
in.
way to go, so go ahead.
I'm gonna raise my
That's
friend.
got to be reined in. Now, uniform construction fees on sheet 6. For 2015, it took $486,000. We're anticipating almost 1.2 million for this year. Where do you anticipate these big fees are coming from?
These are coming from permits, all right?
Last year, we anticipated $486,500 for uniform construction fees. If you look at the next column, it says we realized $1,194,326.54. So therefore, we're allowed to anticipate up to what we realized last year. And actually, we're anticipating, not only are we anticipating the scope of construction code, and he's assured us that that will also be collected this year. That's what I'm understanding.
Well, there has to be some expectations of what kind of building is going to go on to generate $1.2 million in fees.
We spoke to the construction code official, and he's got projects in the line that will generate those fees.
And can we know what those projects
I
are?
don't know what those projects are, but I should.
Oh, you said you spoke to the
I
construction
spoke to
code
him, but I don't
official.
have a list of them.
I can give you some of those. You have the Soho apartment building, all right, that's being built. You have the Tulfra project, the old Jurgens Roche property. You have right here the old car lot on Washington Avenue, all right, where there's going to be some building. There's an anticipation, I believe, also on Cortlandt Street for some construction building there. I'm sorry?
Medical building down there.
Medical building, exactly. The Jurgen site is all commercial.
You got Walgreens.
You have Walgreens across the street, and you have various
So
other.
basically, we're anticipating what we got last year.
Basically, yes.
Probably by law, that's what you could look at.
I understand I hope the Cortlandt Street project doesn't
Go ahead, Vin, talk about the budget.
hold the control on that. On sheet 9, Clean Communities Program, For 2015, we anticipate and receive $60,280. We're anticipating $68,900, almost a $9,000 increase. Now, part of that fund was required, if I recall correctly, 5% of that money was supposed to be used for publicity and administration of that program. I have not seen one single advertisement or ad publicizing this. I haven't seen any money spent on garbage cans for that or anything. Has that 5% been spent for the proper purpose?
I don't know, I'll check. I would think it is, but I'll be happy to check that.
Do we get a calendar somewhere?
Calendar's part of it.
Part of it, right?
The summer help that are out there are also a part of it. Yeah. There's several elements to that, but I'll be happy to get that for you.
I'm asking about the 5% that's supposed to
I
be.
know, I understand it, so I said I'll get that for you.
Also on that page is a grant, municipal line grant, alcoholism and drug abuse. It shows 2015 anticipated 35,000, realized 35,000, anticipated for this year 35,000. Is this money just being spent? Has this money actually been spent?
No. No, actually, we have a meeting that we're trying to set up in the next week or so between the health department, the police department, and my office, so, and the schools. So together, we can have a coordinated effort to make people aware of drug abuse and addiction and what the ramifications are of that. So no, not a dime has been spent. The 35,000 is the amount that they've allocated.
This grant also include education for seniors how to properly use or dispose of their drugs? Is that part of that program?
It might be an eligible activity, but typically that's not part of what this is.
Right. Is this the county grant?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I was contacted by somebody on the county, and they told me that it's almost 3 years. The town has received a letter, if you don't use it, it's going to be rescinded. Now, why for 3 years hasn't this money been spent?
I don't have a good answer for you. I'm only here since January, as you know.
Exactly,
Okay,
that's
so
why.
I can tell you, it will be spent this year. I can't go back 3 years because I don't know. I'll try and find out for you if you want to know. I'll try and find out why it wasn't, if it wasn't.
And Mr.
I don't
Tucci,
even know that.
you understand now why I prefaced my remarks that I expect the answers from these 7 people. Why for 3 years wasn't that spent when you got letters from the county that you're going to lose it if you don't spend it?
Well, I think that letter must be incorrect, because last year, on the 2015 grant of 35,000, we spent during the year 15, 29,257.30. We have a balance of 5,742.70 that we're eligible to spend this year. And there are no prior year's grants that are out there. So all the prior grants for the municipal lines have been spent. And again, we have $5,742 left on the 15 grant, and now we have the full 35,000 for the 16 grant.
Mr. Tucci told me it wasn't spent. So we got to get the...
We're spending it.
I believe this grant is used every year by
Right, it's a
the
rolling
police
grant.
departments when they
Right.
go out for the alcohol,
No, I think that's.
DWI funds.
The new program here is just starting now.
Well, the reason I asked, because I saw the letter sent to the town that it wasn't spent. And it was
Well,
I guess they're wrong.
Tomorrow gets a copy of that letter, we'll look at the letter, because like again, the only grant that's open is the 15 grant, it's only open for $5,700. So,
I know they used to use some of that money for project graduation.
That's what it was, yes.
project graduation, summer employment to put our high school kids and our college kids to work, get them out to the community.
On sheet 10A, what is $123,995 for RDS payment? What's RDS payment?
It's a drug reimbursement now.
Drug
It's
reimbursement?
a medical
to who?
reimbursement from one of our healthcare providers, yes.
both of those items are reimbursement for healthcare costs. So we're not to participate for, we could reduce the budget appropriation, so we decided to put them into revenue and keep the appropriation at full strength.
That's anticipated revenue.
Correct.
The surplus on sheet 11, we anticipated 1.1 million last year. Why is it zero this year?
Because our surplus this year is restricted because of, like Mr. Tucci said earlier, because of some of the over expenditures and the fact that we had a large refund of tax appeals that we had to refund. The surplus balance was not cash available. There's a state formula that allows you to appropriate surplus. And based on the state's restrictions in that formula, we only have $25,000 worth of cash surplus that we could have used in this year's budget, but we decided not to use the $25,000.
And the big increase in tax appeals should be giving you the message that taxes are too high and the public can't afford it. On sheet 15, under insurance coverage, the general liability insurance went last year from $660,000 to $1.9 million, almost $2 million.
That's a combination of the two. We decided to combine them this year so there would be more flexibility as far as.
To what?
The general liability and workers' comp, if you look at last year, the two of those are almost the same as the $1,942,000. As opposed to putting them on separate lines this year, we indicated to the state we wanted to put them both on one line, and they said they had no problem. But our $1,942,000 represents general liability and workers' compensation.
And then our employee group health is costing us, the taxpayers, $11.1 million. And underneath that, what's other insurance for $122,604?
Surety bonds, insurance on recreation programs, I think that's the whole of it. In the water department, you know, I've been having to do that for many years. I think we're paying a lot more employees from the DPW out of the water department. I know anybody that works on the water system is allowed to be paid from there. But it's, we get these big increases, and and we can't afford it anymore. The cost of water, the use of water is going up. One of the reasons I keep telling you, on my street alone, we have a ton of illegal apartments. Illegal apartments consume water. Cost us more to purchase the water. Not only that, when the water goes down the sewer, I think you mentioned earlier that our sewer, I think Mr. Tucci in his speech says, our sewer disposal costs increase. When are we going to crack down on these illegal apartments? And just aside from Mr. Tucci, this is your first year, but I've been recommending, I have property in another town. When I get the tax bill, they put flyers in there. They tell us how to get dog license, they tell us all these other things wrong. I've been suggesting, we put a notice in there, that anybody caught with illegal apartments and quote the statute that is violated and a fine. We know they're going to get the notice because they're going to get their tax bill. So I hope you can do that this year. But that, and it doesn't cost any more money because down in Tom's River, I brought them to the meeting one night. I got about 7 different pages of things for the same postage. They put it in the same envelope with my tax bill. I'm sure to get it. So I hope that notice in bold print, highlighted what the fine and what the statute is, and maybe when they get their tax bills, maybe they'll think twice about continuing to rent out these illegal apartments. Which is it's costing us a lot of money in water and sewage and other costs. What's additional rents in the water of $240,000? In 2015, you had a water rate increase in the middle of the year, so half of the increase was in last year's budget, and this is the follow-up of the second half, this is January to June, based on the increase in last year's water rate ordinance.
And then finally, that's 2. I see on the agenda tonight, you're going to put us in hock again, almost another $5 million. You've got to stop this bonding. Look at the budget. almost 4, our annual debt payment last year was 3.9 million, this year 3.4 million. You know, you keep bottling us into oblivion. This is insane. Again, I tell you, the average person did that with his credit card, he'd be bankrupt, or his house would be in foreclosure, and some people do it, but you've got to stop this bottling. Some of these things you can do within our annual tax rate, and you have, and in conjunction with that, the reserve for uncollected taxes increased from 151,000 to 257,000, which again indicates that a lot of people aren't paying their taxes. So we've got to tighten our purse string, folks, and something's got to be done. This spending is out of control. And finally, it's traditional, it's known pretty much so, that most municipalities, the Board of Education is about 2/3 of the budget, the municipal portion is small. We have a municipal budget almost as big as the Board of Education budget. I think theirs is 67 million, we're up to 64 million. Again, it's out of control. That alone, you know, it's crazy. All these salaries, these out of sight salaries and benefits have to end. So please do something to save this town, because you see your tax sale, you accepted the idiotic proposals by our state legislature to have that accelerated tax sale, which now people who are only 11 months delinquent got to go on a tax sale. You know, people run into hard times. Maybe they need a year and a half to, but now you're going after them at 11 months. And it's totally unfair, and it's hurting our community.
Thank you. Mr. Madden. Jeff Mattingly, 56 Walnut. So we're looking at 62,285,777. That's up 1,605,000. Is there a rate for that on the average home assessment? Do you have that calculated at this point?
Yeah, the rate on the local is 1.8
1.8
per $100 of assessed valuation.
per 100. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I see that the tax levy for us, for the municipality, is going up as well. We're up to 48,328,000 locally will be raised. That means, I assume that will involve no aid from the state. That's strictly coming out of Belleville. So we're seeing these increases go up with the 3.5% cap on 3B that Mr. Frantantoni spoke to. We see pensions, remittance up to $340,000. Emergency, there was an emergency appropriation there for $70,000. What was that for? Do we know? That's 3C, yeah. One of the streets?
No, I think it might have been for the reval. I think it's part of a multi-year assessment, 7,000 a year for several years. I'd have to find that schedule.
Well, okay, thank you. In the $62 million budget, we're looking at $12,685,000 for healthcare. Healthcare. That's a sizable chunk out of that budget. You're looking at 20% for your healthcare. Something has to be done to control these costs. It's my understanding that we have 575 people on the healthcare system. I think we have 275 roughly full-time employees. So I'm assuming that we have more retirees now on the healthcare system than we do full-time employees. And it's 20% of the budget. So where are we going here? This is truly unsustainable. I mean, you know, when we look at this, it just simply looks like a pyramid scheme. It's just going to be a matter of time considering the state that we're in now, that it's just simply going to be unaffordable. So I just, we're negotiating contracts, and yet we don't do anything. Something's got to be done to control the cost. Supposedly under Obamacare, we're going to be fined and pay premiums for Cadillac Healthcare that was deferred from this year because of the election year. It was supposed to kick in. That's just simply the reality that this town can't face those sorts of increases going down the road. Something's got to be done when contracts are negotiated to control these costs so that there's a town for all of us. Anticipated revenues, I see we had a surplus in 15 of $1 million. Now it's planned at 0 for 2016. I think Joe explained that. I thought I heard something to that effect. I guess I didn't hear it.
Right.
It's being utilized in other ways.
It was utilized in refunding tax appeals.
Okay. Construction fees. We have 2014 was 487,000. We're now looking in 2015 at 1.2 million. We're projecting in 16 for 1.2 million again. Right, now, so we pointed to the fact that with the existing construction that's going on now, it would include Soho and big projects like that. I assume those fees are not going to continue to be ongoing forever.
I would hope there'd be more, but I think we can only anticipate what we
So then having collect 300% more for this year over last year, or 15 over 14. Now we're assuming we're going to get that again in 16. But it's not necessarily a revenue source unless we have that degree of infrastructure expansion again, correct?
which I think Mr. Tucci told you about the different projects. That
He mentioned some of them, yes, but then, but now this is forward-looking, so those projects are moving, but do they continually generate these sorts of fees going forward year after year, or are they being replaced by new?
Typically, for the last couple of years, the revenue has been pretty much static. I mean, once the larger projects are completed, you probably go back down to that $500,000 level, but depending on what's presented and what's accepted by the township will determine how much we can anticipate. And again, that calculation is done by the construction code official,
Right.
based upon hard evidence,
I see that,
not
yeah.
just speculation.
Well, yeah, of course, forward-looking is speculation.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. Well, so that was my question. Is this continuing ongoing for, say, Tofra or Soho properties? Or, for instance, Soho's well underway. Those permits have kicked in. I would assume that you're on the back end of those permits.
Some of them have kicked in, not all of them.
Yeah, the water and storage.
They all did the demolition and they started some framing, so they have a long way to go.
Okay, and so they're taking these permits out as they go and not all at once or anything of that nature?
Yes.
Okay, controlling their costs. Sewer fees. Sewer fees in 2014 were $181,500. In 2015, they more than doubled to $367,000. Can you tell me where those sewer fees how they have doubled in 1 year?
Was that part of the rate increase ordinance last year, 2015? I'm not sure. But I think that was part of the ordinance that was adopted last year, where they increased both the water rates, the sewer rates, and the sewer connection fees and water connection fees.
So they doubled in 1 year.
They start watching that.
There's a question I have concerning off-duty police administration. There's a line item here. Now, I know we've created some positions recently. I don't know whether or not this is one of those positions. But it's 2014, 161,000, 2015, 175,000, and now 175,000 again.
That's administration fees that are added on for the extra work that the police officers do
like Taco Bell, McDonald's and stuff like that.
Verizon,
Regarding,
Yes.
That's our administrative.
I have a question on that, because I read that whoever it is that's requesting those overtime jobs has to pay through the department. And they pay the included fees of their health care and the overhead I assume all the various taxations and things that are required to be remitted to the state and the federal government on the additional time.
It's not pensionable, if that's what you're getting
That's, I am. It's not, it says pension,
at. No, it's not pensionable.
so it does not accumulate against the pensions. Okay. Thank you. That was an important question. And now the general liability skyrocketed because we added the two insurances together. Is that a
Right,
liability
correct,
and
right.
disability?
Liability and workers'
Workers'
comp.
comp.
Workers'
It's
comp.
all together. Instead
And
of
actually, it
being
didn't
broken out,
skyrocket,
it's
it was only, what, a
almost about the
3%
same,
increase.
yeah.
So
Because
overall,
of our participation in the joint
just
insurance.
condensed it for that
Yes.
They
purpose.
just aggregated.
All right. The forward-looking obligations for our pensions, I see that it's $350,000 in pension obligation this year, or $340. I saw two conflicting numbers, but it was somewhere around there. While you're looking at that,
The public employees pension system was $1,236,000.
I'm sorry, look, I
The
could
public
hardly.
employees retirement system bill from the state this year was $1,236,612, compared to last year, $1,192,380. The police and fire pension system this year is $4,336,000, compared to $4,025,000 last year.
Pensions, healthcare. It's astronomical. I'm sorry, but the new police chief, acting, temporary, whatever, 200,000 is where that salary is. We just saw what a 67-man fire department is generating, nearly 200,000 now. The only opportunity to reduce and roll back those salaries to a more palatable level for the taxpayers was at retirement. Is there going to be any opportunity here to reduce the chief's salary at this point, or has that already been negotiated for Mr. Minichini?
It hasn't been negotiated, and I doubt very much if you're gonna be able to roll it back. I mean, because why, we had to go into binding arbitration with the fire department several years ago, and I know they were given a nice increase.
Didn't Chief Strumalo come into Nutley at a reduced rate at that retirement before? Maybe Manager Tucci could speak to that. They rolled back the salary, from what I understand.
It was based on years of service, all right? The preceding chief had many years, which obviously maxed him out on longevity and salary increases along the way. There's also usually a percentage increase separation.
Separation between rank, that's the thing that gets us.
15%.
So but how is that any different than Chief Rotunda? How many years in? I mean,
I would think longevity and stuff like that. Mark's got a bunch of years in too.
Well, yeah, Mark's here about 30 years. Chief Rotunda was here 36 and had about a bunch of years.
I know the chief was, Rotunda was the chief for 16 years. How many total years he had in service? I don't know.
so then there's no way for a municipality to cap a salary or reduce a salary at a time of retirement where a new chief is assuming that role, that title.
Would you want to pay him less than like a captain or something? I don't know.
I would, at the
I don't
very
think you
least,
could ever-
hold it to
I don't
this.
think that'll ever go through arbitration. I don't think you could ever get an arbitrator to do that.
Well, I mean, with a municipality whose average gross is approaching $93,000, between $92,000 and $93,000, there has to be some vehicle to save a town. We're talking about survival here. You don't have a tax base that can afford it. You're looking to do mass expansion, and I appreciate all the commercial work. God love you. Do industrial. Provide jobs for people. That's what we need. Residential costs money. requires more people.
I know, hey, can you just go to the budget though, Jeff?
Well, no, I am, because you're basing so much of the revenue on this on projected expansion. I know that the centerpiece of your desires are down in the valley with residential. 2,500 units on
Jeff, I don't know
Portland.
where you're coming up from that, but you keep saying that.
I'm coming
I
up
never
with
heard
it
of
from
that
the fair share housing plan that you submitted.
yet. Okay,
From your,
okay,
okay, that's so.
okay.
You're considering 1.2 million in fees and things for expansion, but when you're building residential, we hire more police, fire, and salaries, pensions, and benefits.
Okay.
Are we drowning here under salaries, pensions, and benefits, or aren't we? Because it certainly seems that way to me.
Maybe we should do what the state does and don't pay them.
Well, I guess the state's gonna run out of road on that too. You know, so, for a state who's number one in everything that you don't want to be number one in, it's, at what point does somebody get their foot off the gas? So I'm asking you, is there no way to cap a salary on the police chief or the fire chief and send a signal that at some point people have to be satisfied with twice as much as we're making? And that's kind of what it
We can
comes
try
down to.
through negotiations, I'm not saying it's gonna be
I don't think it's gonna
successful.
work.
Huh?
We can try through negotiations, but I don't think it's gonna work.
Me neither, I don't think it's gonna work.
Well, you know what, then I would press the arbitration, because the state at some point has to recognize that we're gonna become a ward of state, like so many others. We are digressing in that direction. The state's contribution level is going up because we're going down. And so, I mean, that's kind of the reality of, I would imagine, not just Belleville, because as Councilman Kennedy said, that's what everybody does. So, you know, I've been listening to parity, parity, parity with contract negotiations for 20 years. Well, the parity's up here now. And the pensions and
Jeff,
benefits.
okay, let's go to the budget.
All right? We have a capital budget, on the capital budget sheet 40B1, there is $420,000 is earmarked for new police vehicles. Is there any savings that we get from the old police vehicles that are retired?
Savings is, the difference is cars, which most departments are moving away from, have to be included in the operating budget. What we've done with the cars that are no longer being used for police work, they're passed down to code enforcement, to the health department, to the metering, the meter maids, and those folks. By purchasing the SUVs, we're able to capitalize them and stretch out the lifespans, and the SUVs actually last longer than the automobiles do.
Right. I'd like to end on this. We're talking about bonding, and we're going to borrow money, and we've got to do things, and we've got to fix things, and we can't seem to find any of that money in our regular budget, so we have to bond for it. But as you probably well know, our bond rating has been reduced to poor. Money is becoming more expensive for us to borrow. We're not in a good position to start bonding. Now, there is...
Actually, I need to correct you there.
Go
All
for
right.
it, tell me.
We were at
Educate me.
a 2A negative, all right? We are at a 3 with the negative being removed, all right, after a conversation that I and Mr. Esposito had with Moody's, all right, based upon the progress that we're looking to make and what we're doing. I mean, our bond rating, once we're in a position, and this is pretty much a catch-up year, which is what I've been telling the mayor and council all along, because we're paying old bills and increases and things of that nature. Once we increase our surplus, or we're in a position to increase our surplus, I've been assured that our bond rating will also follow suit. So our bond rating is not poor, it's not where we want it to be yet, all right? But money is still cheap, so if you're gonna have a so-so bond rating, this is the time to do it. So we're planning to see what we can do to bolster the surplus to increase that bond rate.
I'd just like to point out that money is still cheap because the Fed is holding it down to zero because there's no recovery. So for us, money is tight and shrinking all the time. So I appreciate your efforts and former manager Esposito, and God love you, really, bring it, whatever you can do, bring it down, because we need every dime we can save. And we need to fix our water mains and do all these things, and we're bonding for it. I understand that. I just want to see more and more not be pushed onto bonding that can be handled in other ways. And there is a New Jersey Environmental Infrastructure,
Trust,
yes, funding program.
that's correct.
Are we considering that?
Yes.
Where we can
We're in
get
it.
grants?
We're in it already, and Mr. Harrods and I, in conjunction with the DPW, we're working on a 5-year capital plan for both water and sewer and see what we can afford and what the avenues are. And as I mentioned before, I don't know if you were here, we had a conversation with our new grant writers, and we've directed them to look in that area so we can clean and reline water mains and reconstruct our sewer system. I hear you,
Thank
Jeff,
you.
I hear you.
Thank you, really. All right, so I'll say it for that. Thank you.
Mary Higgins, 148 Brighton Avenue. I have a question about something on sheet 38. It says Soho Sitting Park donations are hereby anticipated as revenue. Isn't the tense wrong here? I mean, weren't the donations already given? And if they were, why aren't they listed here? How could something that was already built and already given by donations be hereby anticipated as revenue?
What you see on page 38 is what they call a dedication by rider. That means the town cannot anticipate them as a revenue in the budget nor an expenditure in the budget because they don't know how much they're going to collect in any given year. This was approved by the division a number of years ago. So as the donations come in, they go into the trust account, and as they accumulate, the town can then spend that money, but they can't spend more than what they're collecting. So that stays there.
And what is the revenue going to be spent for?
For the purpose that the dedication by riders, for the Soho Park.
Soho Sitting Park, but wasn't it constructed already?
All I'm saying to you is that it may have been, matter of fact, we have one item on the agenda tonight that's rescinding the dedication by rider that we adopted back in 2001 for a self-insurance fund. We no longer have that self-insurance fund, so we're rescinding that resolution tonight. If that project is completed and the money is no longer, and there's no funds left available, we could rescind that and that would go away. But all those items you see on page 38 are what they call dedications by rider and expenditure to trust.
Oh, is there any reason why there's no monetary amounts listed here?
Because that's, the monetary amounts are in the trust account.
Well, could
They're
we know
not
what's in
part
the
of the
trust
budget
account?
process. Pardon?
Could we know what's in the trust account? And what's being done with it?
Yeah.
I mean, is it just a cash cow?
Financial statement? No, it's not a cash cow. No, you can't spend more than you collect.
Well, how do you, we don't know what you're spending or collecting unless we see a number here. I mean, what kind of budget is this? There's no numbers here. I mean, could somebody explain that to me in plain English? I don't understand. Can one of you up there, nice people, explain this? Where it says Soho Sitting Park
The Soho
donations
Sitting
are
Park
hereby
is-
anticipated as can you translate this into English?
With the Soho Sitting Park at the beginning balance at the beginning of 15, of $4,256.10. We did not collect a penny in 2015, and we spent $2,000 on the park. We still have $2,256.10 left to spend on the park.
Well, thank you. Why couldn't it have been printed?
Because it's not part of the budget. If you want that documentation,
By law, you
you go to
can't
the
put
clerk's
it-
office and ask for a copy of the annual audit or the annual financial statement, and you'll find it.
Well, it's not part of the budget. Why is it listed here?
I think
I'm just trying to learn.
you gave me the answer, but I don't know where we're gonna go, just keep arguing about it.
No, I want to know if it's
He
part of
told
the
you.
budget. Why isn't it listed on here? What he just
Because he
said.
said by law, they have to list it this way.
They're making
By law, they have to list it this way.
Okay,
the
thank
audience
you.
comment. They're making, thank you. Microphone's very good.
Anyone else want to talk on the budget? Observing no further applicants.
I have a question regarding the school system in
No, no,
our
no,
town.
just not budget.
In a minute, in 1
You
minute.
get your chance after this.
Observing no further applicants before I want to take a motion to close this hearing.
Mayor, I move the adoption of this budget be postponed to the further review of the budget and possible amendments.
Second?
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Longo?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Kimball?
Yes. Ordinance for introduction.
Ordinance for introduction, number one, bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the township of Belleville and the county of Essex, New Jersey, appropriating $4,409. Therefore, authorizing the issuance of $4,226,900 bonds and notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof.
Move for introduction.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Now they record their own meeting. Yes. Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Kimball?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2 for introduction. Bond ordinance providing for line maintenance, repairs, and related incidental materials for the water utility in and by the township of Belleville, county of Essex, New Jersey, appropriating $200,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $200,000 bonds and notes of the township to finance the cost thereof.
Move for introduction.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Longo?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Kimball?
Yes.
Me too, yes.
Councilman. Ordinance number 3 for introduction, an ordinance to amend revised general ordinances of the township of Belleville, chapter 8-16, handicap parking
Move for
spaces.
introduction.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Longo?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Kimball?
Yes.
Ordinance number 4 for introduction, an ordinance to amend ordinance number 3343, creating personnel positions and adopting classification and compensation plans.
Move for introduction.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Longo?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Kimball?
Yes.
Ordinance number 5 for introduction. An ordinance amending the development fee regulations of the affordable housing ordinance of the township of Belleville.
Move for introduction.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Longo?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Kimball?
Yes.
Ordinance number 6 for introduction. An ordinance, to amend the revised general ordinances of the township of Belleville, chapter 8-GC, residential parking permit area.
Move for introduction.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Longo?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Kimball?
Make a motion to open public participation.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Longo?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Kimball?
Yes. Commissioner, you can speak now.
Well, I would like to
Can I
ask
just get
about,
your name and address, please?
Marcelo Villa, 145 Rutgers Street. Property owner for 39 years. So I'm very worried about the system, the school system in our town. I have heard a lot about middle school, the maintenance is so poor, and also supervision is so poor, a lot of bullying. Teenagers suffering there one way or another way. And I think we should do better for our kids. It should be number one to do for them better with all these taxes that we pay as owners. Nutley system is better than Belleville. How come is that? The proper tax is lower there and in Belleville is higher. But I'm like, no, I don't know exactly, so that's why I'm here to question.
No, it's two different, we understand what you're saying, but there's two different entities. We don't control the school system at all. We have, you're gonna have to go to the Board of Education,
You should go to a Board of Ed
Board of Ed meeting,
and voice your opinion.
You don't supervise.
No, we're not, not at all.
So they canceled the next meeting, so you'll have to wait till
No.
August.
Thank you, I do
I'm
that.
s-
If there's a board member sitting back there, you can talk to her.
Here it is, 148. 53 days ago, council meeting, the end of May, I asked Mr. Tucci, why was the private contractor Cifelli and Son from Nutley working on town property, the sitting park? Was it put out to bid? How much was he paid for it? I still haven't gotten an answer. Last meeting, I was promised the following day, Mr. Tucci would give me an answer. So, Mr. Tucci
I think he has an
has a
answer for
great
you
deal of
tonight.
experience, he's commissioner of Nutley Parks. Maybe this goes on in Nutley Parks where a private contractor can go work on public property without, a permit, but I don't want it to see it happen in Belleville. So, Mr. Tucci, could you give me an answer on
Well, the
that?
first answer is, it doesn't happen anywhere. It doesn't happen in Belleville, it doesn't happen in Nutley, it doesn't happen in Bloomfield, or throughout the state of New Jersey. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I believe someone called you yesterday, all right, because I only got this at the end of last week from our town engineer, but I'll be happy to go through it for you, all right?
Excuse me, Mr. Tucci, yes, somebody did, a very, very nice person. That
Right.
does not answer my question. That's a list of donations without money on it. I want to know how much is Cifelli being paid. Is that anywhere on there?
I'm going to tell
Does
you.
it mention Mr. Cifelli's name on that
I'm going
paper
to
you're
tell you,
holding?
it makes no difference. I know it was Mr. Cifelli, and it was a change order out of our road improvement, our 2015 road improvement program. We paid $5,000 in total, all right, for the sidewalk and bench pads, all right, partially paid by contributions, $1,400, and the township paid $3,600 for some of the concrete work there.
To who?
To Mr. Cifelli. All right,
was
and
that
Mr.
put out to
Cifelli
bid?
was, excuse me, Mr. Cifelli was the successful bidder on another project, and under the law, the engineer can issue a change order to do other things throughout the town, such as catch basins, sewer lines, and whatever's related. So that's what Mr. Harrods applied to this. So it cost us $3,600 for the cement work to have that beautiful park where most of it came from donations, and it's perfectly legal, all right, you can check, all right, and it was done through a change order. That's the long and short
Then
answer.
why wasn't I given a copy of the change order? I want to see it in writing.
Well, you submitted some Oprah requests, and as a result of your Oprah request, you'll be given all the information you
I still want to go on record. You did not answer me. Mr. Cifelli's name, that is an email from Mr. Hertz. I have a copy of it. Mr. Cifelli's name is not mentioned there,
What's
unless
the
you want to
difference?
show.
What's the difference? His name, I'm telling you, in a
Because
public
we
meeting,
saw him,
being,
I
excuse
live in
me,
the
being
neighborhood.
recorded, with
Excuse me,
minutes
I
being,
live in
with
the
minutes
neighborhood,
being taken,
and you
all
did
right?
not answer
And
it,
you
and
will
his
get the
name is not
information
on there.
as a result of your Oprah request. The
Why,
information
you know what?
does not have to
Excuse me.
be on here.
I brought this up, why should I, as a citizen, why should I have to open it? I was promised at the last council meeting, I would
You were
not
just
have to
given
go
an
through the
answer, Mr.
Oprah.
Secretary.
You didn't have to,
I
if you
didn't
just
know you
asked
were
a
an answer
question,
in
you would
Mr.
get the
Tucci,
information.
could you give
Recorded
the
in
council
advance.
members a copy of that, and can you tell me if Mr. Cifelli's name is mentioned anywhere or not? It
That's a
says
moot point.
nothing
It
about
makes no
Mr.
difference whether Mr.
Cifelli on
Cifelli's
here.
name is on here or not.
Specifically, he had to have a permit
Mayor,
to
I've
work on
answered the
town
question.
property because of insurance. So he was paid, but he didn't go through the normal bid process.
No, if you listen, it did go through the normal bid process, and it was a change order
I wanna
to
see
an,
it.
to an existing contract. And
I
you-
wanna see the
and
change
you-
to his
You asked for
contract.
it, and you will in fact receive it because it's public information.
It's public information, but that doesn't mean it's right. In fact, what you have right there is public information, but it didn't answer my
No,
question.
it is right. Mr. Murphy, would you
Why don't
please
you answer your own
explain
questions?
to her,
You have
all
all
right,
the
how a change
experience.
order works on an existing contract? Perhaps she'll hear from you and
If there is
understand
an
it.
unanticipated necessity that comes up during the course of the construction, the person who is holding the contract generally would make an application to the engineer if it's construction, or to the manager. It'll be reviewed, and if it's approved, it'll be made. The work will be authorized and the bill will be
Thank you.
paid.
So it would have to be approved by the town manager.
In this
That's
case,
what you
if
just
the
said.
engineer did
Town
it, or the
engineer.
engineer,
It would have to be approved by the engineer or the town manager, correct?
Yes.
So are you saying, Mr. Hurd?
No, excuse me, it's the township engineer, and only the governing body is authorized to enter into contract, to terminate contracts, and to change contracts. The manager's not authorized to do that, the town attorney is not authorized to do that, the clerk or anyone else, only the governing body. And that recommendation comes from our professional engineer, Mr. Hurwitz, and that's where it came from, and I'll be happy to give you all of that documentation so you can review it.
Okay, let me just get this straight. Let's wrap this up. So you're saying
I'd love
Mr.
to.
Hurd approved Mr. Cifelli of getting that money for the city park? Is that
Absolutely.
what you're
It's
saying?
a township of
He
Belleville
approved
Park,
it.
yes, and he approved it. Yes, ma'am.
Well, why doesn't it say it on there? Why doesn't it mention Mr. Cifelli's name?
Number one, I don't even know how you got this email. know, all right? Maybe
Your
as part of the
secretary
open,
gave it to
excuse me,
me.
as part of the open public, that doesn't mean it's right, all right? As
Your
part of the Open
secretary
Public
put me
Records
on
Act,
hold
this is
for 10
open,
minutes.
this is a
Your
communication. Are we gonna talk over
secretary,
each other,
and
or do
she's
you
a
wanna
very
answer?
nice person, I don't want to get her in trouble.
You can't get her in trouble. It's not a big deal.
But
It's
you're just saying
operable,
that-
it's operable anyway. This is a communication between Mr. Harrods and myself. And I'm just relaying information to you
She
again.
put me on hold and she spoke with you.
Yes,
She
she
wouldn't
did.
speak with me
Mrs.
directly.
Higgins, you got your answers, I don't know what else.
I
you got.
didn't get my answer. I want to know who, so, okay, this
You
is the
did get
answer.
your
I wanted
answers.
to go on record. Mr. Tucci is saying Mr. Harris approves of Billy getting paid.
How many times do we have to
Yes.
use this?
Yes, absolutely,
Yes.
yes.
I don't know.
Was he issued a permit to work on public property? Was he issued a permit? You need a permit to work there.
My belief is, and I'll be happy to double check it for you, is that Mr. Harrods, working in conjunction with Mr. Di Lorenzo, the code official, all right, discussing permits are usually issued, all right, and fees are waived. That's
Well,
usually what happens on
I'm going to say one
public
thing
property.
and then I won't take up any more time. I live right down the block on Brighton Avenue from the City Park. My family has lived there, as you know, 1905. We know what goes on. We saw a strange contractor there. We're concerned about what goes on in town. We went up and asked him, you know, what are you doing here in this nice sitting park? He goes, they sent me here. He said, well, who sent you
Right.
here? None of your business. We said, well, you know, you're trespassing on town property. Had a camera, took his photo there. He starts screaming at us, I'm gonna sue you, I'm gonna sue you. That's the type of people you hire?
Okay, Mrs. Higgins.
All right? Thank you.
Miss?
Quenisha Norman, 66 Birchwood Drive. My concern is I've been trying to retrieve a handicap parking space for a year now. I've been denied by the Belleville Police Department twice, and the sergeant that I spoke with, their reasoning of denial was because my apartment unit is not at the end, and I just feel as though that's not a good reasoning to reject a handicap space to be placed in front of my apartment unit.
I think we're gonna have to, we'll take your name and we'll see why it was denied. Offhand, I couldn't tell you.
If you give me your information,
Okay.
I'm her mother, and I have pictures I need to show where we at, and...
Just give him,
yeah, I'll be
give
happy
him
to
the
look into
info.
it.
Okay.
Okay.
Anthony Sabella, 40 Crescent Terrace. My first concern is the Garden Avenue, where the golf course breaks out on Garden, also where it breaks out on Geralman, and God knows where else it does. You know, they cleaned it up real nice on Belleville Avenue with the new fence and everything. Garden Avenue still has the old rusty, half knocked down fence, trees growing through it. They cut the grass once a month if we're lucky. This is year after year after year. The reason I'm bringing this up is I just saw that 5 parks, they're spending money in 5 parks in the county. Belleville's one of them, Belleville Park. I don't know if anybody knows what they're exactly going to do in Belleville Park. I hope they're redoing those fields. That would be great because our Little League really needs those fields for practice. But I can't understand. I know Hendricks makes a ton of money. They make a lot of money in Hendricks. And it's just like it's, you know, golf park. You know. It's terrible. I mean, if you look at it, it's terrible. I drive by it every day. It's terrible. And I think most of that would be in Councilman Rovell's area. I don't know where the golf course touches everybody's properties when you get in the back of the streets. It's every, you know, it's all the time. And to me personally, put up a nice fence,
Actually,
cut back your
there's another
trees.
one on Fairview too, if you look in the
Yeah,
back.
and another thing is concrete the apron, because all they do is use it for the dogs. That's it, nobody picks it up because they figure it ain't in front of nobody's house, and we'll just leave it here. So on top of that, not cutting the grass, concrete the apron and put a new fence up, it's beautiful. So all this money we're spending at Turtleback Zoo and everywhere else, you know, a little bit in Belleville would be nice.
We'll get in touch with Mr. Charles.
Okay, next thing is the grass. Every year it gets worse and worse. Nobody cuts their grass. I met a little old man that you guys hire that drives around and puts stickers and does what he does. He's a nice guy. I don't know how many hours he spends doing that, but it's the same properties year after year. And I've seen this in other neighborhoods. When you have two families, multi-families, they sell it, landlord doesn't live there, we don't cut the grass. All right, we wait till the town puts a sticker on it, then we cut it. I don't know, maybe we need to make our fines stiffer, maybe enforcement stronger, but I used to love, my block used to be one of the best in Belleville, and we've got two families here and there, but they just don't cut the grass. And it's this high, and then all of a sudden they'll cut it. And then it's this high, and then all of a sudden they'll cut it. You know, it just, to me, it bothers me. Rec house. Find a rec house. Whoever, I don't even know if it's the town or the ad, whatever. I don't know if they ever heard of Roundup. You know, the concrete has weeds growing out of it. If you can't weed whip it, you spray it. It just looks terrible. It just looks terrible. Rec house is filthy in the summertime. I don't know if it's because of the camp and the kids throw their garbage where they ain't supposed to, but how about we get these kids before camp starts, let them police the area, and it'll look good every day. But outside the rec house is usually filthy too. Another problem, Garden Avenue, we don't enforce traffic laws anymore. You can park basically wherever you want to park, you're never going to get a ticket. Signs, most of the signs in town are faded or gone. You know, you try to get out of Laurel Court or Dawson onto Garden Avenue, which is the National Speedway anyway. And you have a car parked on the corner here and a car parked on the corner here, and you kind of got to edge out and pray that no one's coming around the turn. I mean, that's revenue. I'd be writing all the tickets I could. Nutley's very good at writing tickets. I mean, they ran that program in front of their high school with the crosswalk. I think they gave out 200 tickets in one day because people wouldn't stop for the pedestrians. I worked as a crossing guard for 4 months in front of the high school. I got hit by a car, dressed in orange uniform. Okay, that's how bad it is. No one respects crosswalks. Nobody. It's the parking. You can park wherever you want, near a hydrant, 2 feet from a stop sign. As you drive around in a police car, you know the laws. So, you know, do you not want to stop and write a ticket? Do we have enough cops to write tickets? Do we? I just don't understand. You know, it's all over town. But Garden Avenue is really dangerous. You're trying to pull out, and you got a car in the car, and you can't see. And nobody does 20.
We'll notify our new police chief.
You know, I appreciate that. And also, commercial vehicles. When I first moved to Belleville, back to Belleville 30 years ago, I had a pickup truck with a roof rack. And man, they were nailing me with $85 tickets until I took that ladder rack off. And I got commercial vans parked on Laurel Avenue overnight. I believe they got to be off the street by 10. That's not being enforced. It just seems like, you know, stuff ain't being taken care of. But we really got to do it. I mean, if I could get Joe Dean, I'd love to drive him by here and say, hey, Joe, you know, you don't see this part of the golf course? It looks terrible. My wife walked home one day. She said it was like a jungle.
Okay, sir.
And then we got to do something with the grass. I think we need to make the fine stiffer. I don't know what they are now. If you're charging them $20, it ain't enough. Make it 200. Make it 500. I really.
And then we can holler at it from other people that we're making them too stiff.
No, not by me. You know, not by me. Now we can pay our chief a decent salary if we raise I feel $200,000 for a police chief ain't a bad deal. You know, today's market. You know, we got people still thinking 60s, 70s, that ain't happening. And Jersey's tough, and if you can't take it here, you need to move out because it's expensive. I don't care where you live.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I won't take much of your time. Again, Friday, we could not get in over the bridge. The street was blocked. And he sat and kept going like this, whatever that meant, but I couldn't get in. And I did go. And I went up to number 5 and turned around and came back down. And he was sitting quietly in the car. Nobody was coming the other way. So I went past him and I got the siren. But I kept going right into the lot. I figured if he wants me, he's coming in to get me, that's all. But he didn't bother me. But I did call Chief Minikini, who very nicely spoke to me, called and said, let them in. The thing I want to point out, it's not picking on the police. With this construction, what it's done to us, we really had it. And I think Steve knows it. He talks to some of the men over there too. The problem is, we can't go that 200 feet. We're blocked. But from Harrison coming to Franklin, they're allowed to come through, past everything that's supposed to be a danger. So where was the rule? That's what I was trying to get across. If you're going to block it, well, my God, why are they coming the other way? And we can't even get in that little bit of distance. So on Friday, I told the seniors, come in the back way, behind the building, where all the construction trucks come in. That's how you come in if you see a police car over there. And we'll see what's going to happen, and I hope to God nobody gets hit with their car, because I'm going to do it myself. Because, like I say, you're telling me to go around in a big circle. Well, from Harrison, they should be going the other way in a big circle and try to get in, and nothing happens. And one of the things that can help start cutting the budget for workers, I think that they could start paying for their own eyeglasses and their own dental. That would help with the medical plan a little bit. It's a start, I would think. And also, can somebody tell me the article that was in the paper on Sunday that was all about Christie? It mentioned a little bit about the property tax freeze. Are we going to be affected? Are we going to get it? Are we going to be cut or what? Is anybody, do they have any knowledge of it, of what's going to happen, so we know where we stand?
The DOT thing is,
Because this is already July, where the seniors should be getting, you know, that little portion of it, and we haven't heard anything. And I just wondered, because I couldn't decipher what that article meant at all. I kept reading it and reading it, and I read newspapers. So I thought maybe somebody here could advise me. But anyway, and then when you talk also parking and whatnot on the streets, there's so many storefront daycares on Union Avenue just before Graylock. There's no parking there if you want to go to a store, because all the employees have all the parking spaces all along there. They're there all day long. If you need to go to the candy store, the beauty parlor, whatever, you can't even get a place to park because all the employees are parked there. So that's another situation also. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Yes, Madam Council, about a month and a half, 2 months ago, I brought to your attention one of the illegal apartments on my street. They had a gas leak problem, and around midnight, I told you the entire fire department, 3 trucks and about 12 men went through the entire house. And I asked, they don't see all these people living there in the illegal apartments? That's a perfect opportunity to get in there, sir. You can have the building inspector say, look, there was a gas problem, we now gotta get in to make sure these gas connections are correct. And finally, has anything been done about that?
We brought that to Mr. Di Lorenzo's attention, all right, and I believe he's following up, but I'll follow up with him.
Well, because I give you know, there's so many people living in the apartment, got these big garbage cans, 6 or 7 of them. And then I usually go close my lines about 10 o'clock, and he's sneaking around out there, and when he thinks everybody's sleeping, he puts 2 or 3 of the garbage cans by my neighbor's house next door to make it appear that they're 2 separate things. But every garbage day, 6, 7 huge garbage, that's how many people live in that apartment. And you go 4 or 5 houses up the other way, they just had a dumpster up there, I don't know, you got the, I don't know, what, ripped out the entire basement. Next day, brand new truck, cabinets come in there, basement. I got the license plates of the people who are living in there. They come and you see them, they walk up and go down the basement. Within 12 houses, 6 immediately, we got about 4 illegal apartments. So, once again, I don't want to bring it up, but what I brought up at the budget hearing, let's put this stern warning in with the tax bill to get after the people. It's all over this town. I was working on Fairway today. One of the neighbors saw my truck when I went out to get some tools, and she's up the street. I don't want to give you the address because that I'm not sure if that was hearsay. There's illegal apartments up there. Everywhere I work around town, people are telling me all these illegal apartments. we can't park on our street, on Mount Prospect Avenue. Your zoning board, in their wisdom, allowed a firefighter to put a two-family house on top of his garage in the backyard when he already had a two-family barn, and he didn't provide the parking he was supposed to. All those people, especially on the street cleaning days, they're all on one side of the street. We have lived there, and they're 50 years, I can't park. I can't park anymore on the street. And most of it is due to the illegal apartments. So, please, bring it up for years, you all yes me to that. I agree with you. Some of you privately outside tell me, you're right, and you know, but nothing's done. You know, so let's take some action. In regards to the sitting park, Mr. Tucci, you said the total was $5,000?
Just for the concrete work. It was concrete work and some bench work there. It was for the sidewalk, the bench pads, and that was it. Just the sidewalk and the bench pads.
5,000 total, Safelli got 3,600.
3,600 out of our money, all right? The other 1,400 came from donations.
So he got $5,000.
$5,000 in total, yes.
And that was, RFP was sent out?
No, that was a change order to an existing contract. It was a change order that was authorized by Mr.
So, right, the change order authorizes the work to be done.
Right.
But who appointed him? You didn't have to go out for
They
RFP?
did go out, to bid. The way, it's explained to me, the way Mr. Harris writes his specifications, all right, let's say they're gonna mill and pave and do sidewalks and curbs on Prospect Avenue, all right? They can also do ancillary work in other parts of town. I think at the last meeting I reported, we had something like 26 locations of sidewalks that are going to be improved as a result of water improvements, all right, that had to be made. So he writes the specifications in a way that if we need to do this other work, this ancillary work, we can do it as part of that contract through a legal change order. And that's how he does it.
Transfer the fund. Excess funds from one.
Well, the funds are there, all right, in the road program bond, so he just utilizes it.
It's not restricted, Mr. Freeman, it's only just that one.
Exactly.
One job.
So he didn't have to submit a bid? Safelli didn't have to submit a bid.
He did, he submitted it.
20% of the
Right.
original contract.
The only bid, you didn't request other bids?
No, he went through a normal
Road won the
bidding
original,
process.
he won the original road bid, he won,
Yeah.
okay? This is
That's
a
what
change
it
to
is.
that.
Did you go out for RFP?
Yes.
Were there other
No,
bids?
no, it was, no, it wasn't
Original road
RFP,
project.
it was a full-blown bid.
Bid.
All right, it was a
Road
bid,
project.
contractors bid on it, Safelli obviously was the low bidder, all right?
That's
and
it.
they
So
did, they
we
did
can
whatever the primary work was, plus the ancillary work.
All right, so we can see the other bids that were submitted.
Sure. It's all public information.
Well, then I'll offer that.
It's for road.
Because I think that is sitting for, that was a capital improvement. That was a capital improvement.
Yeah, roads, capital.
All right. The other thing then, if it's a capital improvement, according to the land use law, it has to go before the planning board for review and recommendation. I don't ever recall it going before the planning board.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know if it did or didn't. The Soho Sitting Park was under construction when I got here, but again, I can find out.
I addressed this with other issues, and the lawyers, I was correct. It's clear as day.
I'm not disagreeing
All
with you.
capital
I'm telling you,
improvements
I don't
have to
know.
go before the planning board for review and recommendation. Why wasn't it done?
I don't know that it was or wasn't done.
The project's been out for years.
7 years.
Could have been done.
How many, 7 years?
Loads of years, yes. And then there was,
I know,
I
may have been.
fundraised $7,000 for that. I don't know what the big thing is here now for a little road work.
Well,
And it looks beautiful for the town.
the big thing is that there's local laws, state laws, and federal laws, and you have to comply with them.
I'm sure
You
that they
just don't
did.
control the purse strings at your whim. The Silver Lake is not your property. And there's state laws that require the municipal land use laws, the state use laws. If you're doing any capital improvement, it has to go before your local planning board for review and recommendation. It's a good thing, the sitting park, but you have to follow the laws.
It might have been followed.
It
and I-
was
I don't know.
followed. You got
Well,
it.
years before.
I mean, I don't know.
You know, I go to just about all the
Yeah, I
planning and
think-
zoning
I know.
boards,
We have
and
so
I
many
never see
rules.
it. So, or,
Check your notes are probably better than our notes.
well, and again, that's why I'm asking.
I don't know, I'll find out, I'll ask a question, I'll be happy to answer.
So I'm asking because this stuff is just doing work and hiring contractors you want, it's gotta be done legally.
No. Now, don't get carried away. It's not just doing work and hiring contractors that we want. Everything is done legally. There's a legal bid process, there's a specification that's written that allows us to do it. Mr. Harris holds a license in the state of New Jersey, he's a professional engineer, all right? So if he tells us that it's appropriate and we can do these things, we're gonna follow his direction. Because we're not professional engineers here. So then that's what we have to do, and I'm sure it was all done legally and
Want to
properly.
finish up?
It's not just like we pick somebody up off the street and say, go fix the sidewalk, go do the catch basin. We don't do that.
I take you at your word. So I will open those bid specs.
I'm with you. I'll be happy to work with the clerk if she needs my help to get them for you.
Want to finish up?
Okay.
Engineer was for the bridge.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Man.
Under ordinance for introduction, first I'd like to say, for anyone who thinks that 200,000 is a good sum for a police or a fire chief, should consult national averages. And you didn't look too closely because it's radically over normal. Ordinance for introduction, number 1. This is $4,409,000, but it doesn't say specifically what these capital improvements are. Can you run down basically what exactly we're looking at here for the $4 million?
Mayor, is it appropriate to do that? Sure. We have in the police department acquisition of sport utility vehicles, $420,000. In the fire department, the refurbishment of a utility truck, including all work and materials necessary, for $9,000. $200,000 for the reconstruction of the Silver Lake Firehouse, including all work and materials necessary. In code department, modernization of records technology, including all work and materials, for $50,000.
Do you know if that's literally getting stuff up online now? Modernization, does that include like making?
This is to put stuff on the cloud, this is to put our records in the cloud, not online.
It's a cloud system.
Okay, that's what that's in the
Could we work that in? I mean, you know, starting to get user-friendly with the public? And yeah, I mean, ordinances,
We're trying, yes. We're trying, we have to start somewhere.
Yeah, well, how about 30 years ago?
I wasn't here 30 years ago, so, okay,
Yeah,
so we have
you had a
Department
good
of, only 12. Department of Public Works, architectural engineering expenses for various projects, $50,000. In the sewer department, another $30,000 for refurbishment and replacement of the sewer pressure truck. In the road department, we have $767,000, and that includes a $246,885 state of New Jersey DOT grant, which has since been frozen, but we expect once they resolve that, that'll be released. And we have other improvements to various roads set forth in the list on file with the clerk for $1,993,000, which includes $376,000 in community development block grant funds. In the building department, we have the acquisition and installation of generators at various public buildings for $800,000. And in the recreation department, yeah, it's a lot, yeah, well, they're expensive. The recreation department, we have interior improvements for the Friendly House for $150,000, totaling $4,409,000. And then the other $200,000, as you know, is in order.
Thank you.
I'd be happy to give you a copy of this if you want.
I'd love to. Well, actually, you're on tape now, so that's all.
All right, well, I'll show it to
But that
the
would be
tape.
nice, thank you, yeah, to refer to. For introduction number 4, an ordinance to amend creating personnel positions. New personnel positions? What are we planning new personnel?
Can I answer, Mayor?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
No, in line with cutting costs, what we've done, with the exception of my salary, which is very public, okay? We put some other titles in there with lower ranges, lower starting salaries and lower ranges, to begin turning back some of the salaries that we have, all right, for the various positions that in time we will be replacing through attrition.
So then you'll be retiring some positions when these new ones
Exactly,
come in at a
starting them at a
rate?
lower rate, right. We have a lot of long-term employees here.
Right.
All right, so that's why some of our salaries are a bit higher, because we don't have the turnover that some other towns have.
Mhm. Thank you.
So that's the purpose of that.
Item number 5, ordinance amending the development fees regulations of affordable housing. I appreciate that. Ordinance of the Township of Belleville.
Have to have a sense of humor, don't we?
Yeah, oh, I find it very apropos. Yeah,
Well, I noticed the typo, but it's, the caption is the same.
this is for?
This is, as you're aware, the governing body passed a development fee ordinance at its last session. There were some editorial changes that this new ordinance incorporates.
Is this going to
Nothing of
lighten up?
substance.
There was a lot of public
Pardon me?
outcry about what was going to happen with existing structures, modifications, and the fees imposed on the
Well, the fees are already
existing-
legal, but this is the preferred form. I wanted to get that before the governing body in time for it to have 2 readings and published, which it did, because as you know, on reorganization day, everything that is not passed, it just goes away. So we wanted to make certain that we had the COA ordinance, the fee development ordinance in place. And this is just it's a very minor modification to it, but it's in better form.
I would hope that the council would revisit that, and while you're doing that, and so opening up that kettle again, just take a look at what it's going to do to existing homeowners who are trying to modify and upgrade their homes, and the fees that will be imposed on them, who are trying to improve their properties but are fearful that when you get into this kettle of fish, you're going to ultimately, you're going to require, people are not going to do it, or they're going to try and do it on the sly. You'd rather them do it above board and not necessarily beat them up in terms of fees and rate increases when they're trying to improve our properties in our town, increasing the appeal of our town. So let's relook at that, because I remember there was plenty of conversation on exactly when we try to modify our existing homes, as opposed to new and converted structures, expanded structures, where it's obviously.
It's a certain
There's a
percent
certain
gets knocked down,
percentage.
Jeff. I mean, if you're cleaning up your property and taking care of it, yeah, Vinnie can
You
explain
have
it
to
better than me.
completely knock down the house. The average homeowner is not completely knocking down their house, framing and foundation.
Oh, I thought there were, modifications also were
No,
falling.
this is completely demolition.
Yeah, I remember that, and I think that's totally appropriate.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you. We really do need cooperation between the town, the building codes. We have a CCO, continue occupancy. They can go in, they can do inspections. They used to have real good camaraderie with the district and the town in terms of catching people who are overloading the streets and the houses, creating fire hazards, running up water bills, so on and so forth. Making it, the quality of life was radically affected. We know people in 2014 where domicile investigators were simply cast to the wind, and lots of things happened in those couple of years when nobody was watching the district. Well, kids in the school and the concerns of the domicile investigators of the township in terms of how they're trying to control illegal occupancy, dangerous situations, overcrowding the streets and the schools and everything else. 13 plus grand a head per kid to the taxpayers. We need the Board of Health and the Building Codes Department to come together and work with this situation to the benefit of everybody. It really needs to get back in gear, and for all the trying we did after 2014 and pulling ourselves out of the fire, that really never got reinstated. Let's try and do that. Let's reach out and try and benefit the town both ways. The district and the town benefits the taxpayers, quality of life, quality of education, so on and so forth. Mr. Tucci, thank you for addressing through the chair, through Mayor, addressing the storm drains down in the valley. Also, the stop signs newly installed on Cortland and Terry. The lines in the street are very faint. I can tell you because Chief Rotunda had a stop sign installed in the corner of my property on Roosevelt. Because the building was built right to the corner, it was dangerous. There have been a number of accidents there through the years. Finally, a kid got clipped about 5 years ago, broke his femur, nearly killed him. He was in the hospital for a little while. He installed the stop sign. There's no line in the street. They blow right through it. Nobody cares. Same thing now with Bella Vista, where there's this face-off whenever Cortland and Bella Vista come together by signature there. People just disregard that new stop sign. There's no line in the street. You need a solid line. You'd be amazed at the difference that makes, that line makes. And so when you please include Roosevelt and Stevens and any other stop signs in town where the lines are so faint that the people just blow them off. They really don't care. And so the same is true right there with the new four-ways. Get a good solid line.
Want to finish up, please?
I'll do that. Thank you, Mayor. Please, consider a table of organizations. I've opened them, I've seen them, they're top-heavy. We need to retire people, and we need to bring that money back down to the ground. We can't be operating with too few men to operate our equipment on the fire department when we have so many battalion chiefs.
You want to get charged with age discrimination or something?
No, I'm saying that, you don't need 5 battalion chiefs. I don't think they have any in Newark. We're talking about Newark. What we need are men on the ground, equipment like you're bonding for. 1 battalion chief, 3 men on the trucks. All right, so let's reorganize our thinking here. And as these people retire, do not replace them. Remove them from the tables of organization. We need men on the ground, not men that, quite frankly, you don't know what they're doing. So let's look at that in our departments, and as we can save money and return that to the ground, that's what we need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Milden, Hunkle Street. I'd like to know what the status is of the police officer charged with shoplifting again, and what's the settlement?
I don't think we can go for that.
No discussion regarding that. Oh.
Anyone else?
Make a motion to close public hearing?
Second. Clerk call roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Longo?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Yes.
Make a motion to move the consent agenda?
Second.
I'm sorry.
Oh, we gotta do the other one.
You have the new business, right?
Yeah.
You have any motions?
No, I have no deletion.
No.
Just one.
No, just one, correct?
Yes.
Clerk call roll on
On number 2.
Yeah.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Longo?
This is number 2?
Yes. Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Yes. Mayor Kimball?
Move resolution number 1.
Second.
Clerk call roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Longo?
Yes. Oh, no.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Yes. Mayor Kimball?
Yes.
Under new business, I move resolutions A to F.
Second.
Clerk call roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Longo?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Strumelberg? Yes. Mayor Kimball?
New business.
Did I miss Robel again? No, I'm not. Yes.
Tell the truth, tell the truth.
Yes, yes,
Yes, yes,
Joe, you have anything to say? Motion adjourned.
Make a motion adjourned.
Vinnie, thank you for the appointment for the Red Lemon Board.